The Cook County State's Attorney affects all of us because all of us, whether you live in Chicago or Cook County, you will be in Cook County. You'll do business in Cook County. You'll spend money in Cook County. And you're concerned about, first and foremost, your safety and making sure Cook County is taken care of. Well, knock me over with a feather. Tony Preckwinkle has endorsed Clayton Harris III. And I'm not here to bang on Clayton Harris. He's a nice man. And he certainly has some things he's done in his life that are worthy of consideration, and he's welcome back in here. But Eileen O'Neill Burke, you are now in the sights of what I would call the machine in Chicago, and specifically Tony Preckwinkle, who was all in for Kim Foxx, and I think it'd be hard to argue how that worked out. So Clayton Harris is not Kim Foxx, but Clayton Harris is Tony Preckwinkle's candidate. And I think it's important for people to know that. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you back.
Happy to have you here. Thank you.
Thought you did a nice job on the Channel 7 debate. How are things on the trail?
Things on the trail are very hectic, but good. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from people. I think people are ready for a change.
In regards to taking care of victims, I'm going to take you back to where we ended the last time we talked, and that is this idea of what a shoplifting felony is versus a misdemeanor, because this came up in the debate as well. Kim Foxx arbitrarily changed it from a $1,000 or $300 level to a $1,000 level. So the idea being I could steal any number of $998 worth of items, and there's still misdemeanors, which don't add up like felonies, and it's pretty clear where this is going. Where are you on trying to stem the tide of shoplifting, and is that just as a tool to do it, will that make a difference?
It'll make a huge difference because the threshold, the felony statute reads that it's $300 should be the value of goods or above. So by saying we're just not going to prosecute $1,000 or below, if it's a misdemeanor, anybody can bring forward a misdemeanor case. It doesn't need to have the state's attorney's office approval. So that, in effect, is saying, well, the state's attorney's office is not being involved. And, do the victims want to show up for a misdemeanor? That's the question. But there's another wrinkle in the current policy of the state's attorney's office. The felony retail theft statute also reads that if you have one prior retail theft felony, it doesn't matter the second time what the value of the goods is. You're charged as a felony. So it could be $20 you steal again. Because of your background, you are charged with a felony. Well, the current administration has said, no, we're going to disregard that one prior, and now it has to be 10 priors before you can be charged with a felony.
Is this all part of the larger social, I call it an experiment, but social move that has been put forward, not just by this mayor, but by others? Let's empty the Cook County Jail. Let's do this. Let's do that. Is this one of the pieces in it?
I think it's just ineffective management, and it's inappropriate for an office holder to just say, I'm going to, on my own, just decide I'm not going to enforce the law. If there's an appetite to change the law, the right way to do that is go to Springfield and change the law. It's just not appropriate for a prosecutor to say, I don't like that, so that whole category I'm going to just disregard and not prosecute. We're seeing the ramifications of this policy all over. Michigan Avenue has a 30% vacancy rate.
Yeah, and what's the incentive for businesses to do business if they're not going to be protected?
Right, and we're seeing Walgreens, CVS, Target, Walmart, mom and pop stops all over Cook County are closing because they can't do business if people can just walk in and clear off the shelves.
You talk a lot about neighborhood safety, which is a concern for a lot of people. We are talking a lot about ShotSpotter, and that's going away in 6 months with this new decision made by the mayor. We talked earlier about the ShotSpotter data being used in criminal cases. Where are you at with ShotSpotter?
So ShotSpotter, the criticism of ShotSpotter was it goes off and police go to that area. And does that mean that police can search everybody in that area looking for guns? That's the criticism of it, is that police would use it as a pretext to do unconstitutional searches. But my view is it gives officers information to go to the scene immediately and find a victim and also potentially disrupt any fight that's ongoing right there. So it serves as a tool that we can use, and it seems a little bit to me, and it's not my decision. It's the superintendent of police told the mayor that he thought this was a valid tool, that this was a helpful tool. That's his handpicked superintendent. He's the expert. He's the one saying that this is a good tool. We need to use it. And I would listen to the experts. Right.
Well, as state's attorney, you've got to be able to work with the cops. You've got to be able to work with your fellow judges that you've known for years, and also with attorneys. One of the things that's come up again and again is the idea that Kim Foxx's office is woefully inadequate when it comes to just staffing up attorneys and has a major morale problem. We don't tend to think in the public about the state's attorney's office and how's everybody feeling about going to work, but that's a big deal.
Well, it was always a feeling of pride and responsibility when you step up in court and you say you are there on behalf of the people of the state of Illinois. You are there as an advocate for the victims. And there was a perception that suddenly nobody will have your back. And I can tell you, at some point in every state's attorney's career, a case will blow up on them. And it has nothing to do with unethical conduct or malfeasance or anything like that. It is the nature of what we do. You will have a case that blows up on you. And once there was a perception that you would be fired or vilified or your boss wouldn't have your back, well, everybody started leaving. So now we have a woeful, inadequately staffed state's attorney's office. So what is left is attorneys who have double the caseload that they should have. There's more work than they can get done in a day. There are cases, and the likelihood of a case blowing up on you has increased exponentially because your caseload has increased to an amount that you can't handle.
There is, of course, the movie notion that, I could make a lot of money being a defense attorney, but I want to go and I want to fight for the people, because you're not getting rich in the state's attorney's office.
No, you're definitely not getting rich there.
So you need to have the calling, for lack of a better way of putting it. Are we short on people that have the calling anymore?
No, I don't think so. I think when my goal to be state's attorney is to create the gold standard for training in a prosecutor's office. I want this to be the best training ground for prosecutors in the entire country. I want people coming here to learn how to be a trial attorney. That was always what you went to the state's attorney's office for. It was the place to go to learn how to be the best trial attorney you can be, and we are going to have that. There's not going to be a lack of people who are interested in that.
And why aren't more people, other than you, talking about the victims?
I don't know, but I have been on every side of the criminal justice system. I've been a state's attorney. I've been a criminal defense attorney. I've been a trial court judge, and I was on the appellate court. I've had the gift of being able to see the criminal justice system from each and every angle. And there's really no question that the victims need an advocate, and that advocate is the state's attorney.
That's right.
We're going to come back more with Eileen O'Neill Burke, and it starts with you voting.
That's right.
The primary is coming up, and you have to vote. This is not optional. You have to vote.
This election has consequences.
Yeah, because otherwise you get to the fall and you go, how do we end up with this? It's because you didn't vote the first time, kids. You can talk about fixing the primary system all day long. It's not going to get fixed this year. So work within the system we have and work for people who are going to change the system so it has a positive impact on you. Judge Eileen O'Neill Burke is here. She wants to be the Cook County State's Attorney. I mean, we could have got you an easier job like bomb squad diffusion or something. One of the things that is a very fair complaint about not just Cook County, but Illinois in general, is the backlog in the courts. How much of that falls on the state's attorney's office?
A significant portion of it.
And what do you do about it?
Well, one, we have to restaff. We have to restaff quickly. One of the other problems that we're seeing is every single crime has 6 hours of videotape, and we get tendered the 6 hours of videotape, and we might need 35 seconds of it. So when you are overworked to twice the amount of cases on your docket that there should be, you don't have time to go through 6 hours of videotape. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is I want to have paralegals, one paralegal for every 2 courtrooms. And I want to have that paralegal inputting into a computer system that can be accessed by the victim, the witness, the defendant, the judge, the prosecutor, and the public defender. They can access that system and see exactly where the case is. Like the arraignment date happened on this date. We've ordered the forensics report on this date. This is the next court date, and this is what's going to happen.
So 2024 it.
Yeah.
You know, in a world where I can Google anything, I ought to be able to see the back of the baseball card that says exactly who I'm dealing with.
You've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
So are these things that, and you've been on all sides of it.
Yes.
So these things that you're talking about now, you're like, oh, we should be doing this.
Yes.
When you were in that position.
Right. And you know, the beauty of having a system like that is we can then take the data and say, go to the legislature, because forensics is taking us, and I'm just making this up, but, you know, forensics is taking us 18 months to get a report from them. They need staffing in the forensics department. So not only will it keep everyone apprised of exactly what's going on with that case, who's involved in that case, but it gives us the data that we need to make the system more efficient. And if we implement these paralegals, then we can get through the backlog.
As a state's attorney, the number one representative of the people in the state, how much interference could you possibly get from the Cook County Board president or anybody else who didn't want you to win?
Well, I think that the county board controls the budget, but I'm not shy, Steve. So if somebody starts, you know, playing games, I'm not shy about calling it out, because I feel so passionately about this that we can fix this system. We can make this system work for everyone in every single neighborhood, but it's not working right now.
I love the passion. I love that word about fixing it. I love it. People want to hear it. It's going well. How do we make sure everyone gets out to vote? We can say, oh, yeah, I'm going to vote. And then all of a sudden something comes up, I'm not voting. And we talk about this all the time.
We saw it with the mayor's race. And again, it's March 19th. Write it down now. No excuses.
We have all seen the consequences of the accumulation of failed policies. We've all sat by and watched that. Now it's time to stop watching, and it's time to act. So everyone, you have to vote, but you have to get everyone in your network to vote and make sure everyone in their network votes, because this election matters, because Chicago and Cook County matter, because we shouldn't have to live like every single time you go outside, your head's on a swivel. Every single one of us has come up with a plan on what we do if we get carjacked now. We don't have to live like this. We need to have a safe, thriving county, and it starts with the state's attorney.
No question about it. Gun crimes. We have a notion that you commit a gun crime, you got a pretty good chance of being back on the street tomorrow.
Well, it's not just a pretty good chance. There's a gun deferral program in place now, which means if you have no background and you get arrested with an illegal weapon, prosecution is deferred. No prosecution happens. You are back on the street the next day. So police
How fast could you change that?
Yeah. Day one.
So you could literally change that on day one?
That is not a statute. That is a policy of the state's attorney's office.
Why?
I'm not sure why, but, there are several policies. The retail theft policy, the policy not to go after people who are accountable for a murder.
It's not important for you to opine, I suppose, on why it's there. It's important for you to fix it.
Yes, and that will be fixed day one.
So, we've also, and Tom Dart's been on the air several times talking about this. Yep. We got people accused of murder.
There's 140 people accused of murder or attempt murder in Cook County right now on electronic monitoring.
How is that even possible?
I have no idea, but that is absolutely wrong. So now under the Safety Act, the state's attorney has to ask for detention prior to a judge being able to make that determination whether somebody should be detained or not. So in effect, the state's attorney is now the gatekeeper for detention. If the state's attorney doesn't file that petition to detain, a judge has no discretion to detain. So it has become exponentially more important who the state's attorney is and that they put structure, training, and criteria in place for when we're seeking detention.
Now, the Safety Act is a law. What could you do about that?
Well, we can work with the law. We've seen, Lake County, DuPage County are not having problems with the rollout of the Safety Act.
It has put in an extra layer of red tape and a burden system.
No, I think we can work with it. I think, we can
So it's a
all
matter
agree.
of being dedicated
I
to
like that
fixing
because
it.
you figured out the ways you can work with it.
Right. I mean, I am dedicated to the law. I will follow the law. I took an oath as a judge. I'll take an oath as a state's attorney that I will follow the law, but I will do it in a way that keeps people safe.
Yeah.
Nick, jump in here if you got something for Eileen O'Neill Burke.
I have a quick question, though. The home monitoring, still the 2 days off, or can you get rid of that?
That is a problem with the Safety Act that I think we can all agree needs to be amended. And really having 2 days off, they get credit, by the way, for off any sentence that they get. They get every single day they spend on electronic monitoring goes to credit.
And as Tom Dart has said, there are provisions in place already about people needing to go to a job or going to a medical appointment or whatever.
Which is separate from the being 2 days.
The 2 days off with no idea where you are and no accountability. It's insane.
Right.
Nick Gill.
Well, I'm just curious with the assault weapons ban, and if that gets overturned, I mean, what would your office do then for folks who, the Supreme Court says, well, no, these people have a right to have these guns? Because what I don't understand, I mean, you guys are both saying, you and Harris are both saying, hey, we need more prosecutions when it comes to guns. I think your quote was that every time somebody's found with an assault weapon, that individual should have detention and jail time. What if it's a guy who just didn't register his AR-15 and he didn't commit a crime?
Right. I am concerned about all assault weapons in the county. Every single police officer I'm talking to has said that every interaction they have, there's not just a gun, but there's a gun with a switch making it an automatic weapon and an extended magazine. And we're seeing these guns all over. We're seeing the ramifications of them. They're very difficult to control when you put an extended magazine and a switch on a gun. So we've seen it, the 2 boys that were shot on Washington and Wabash, 20 shots rang out in 5 seconds. The officer who was shot on State and Walton, it was one of these guns with a switch and an extended magazine. The mass shooting in Lawndale, it was one of these guns with an extended magazine. So with regard to whether the Supreme Court will take it, they have not taken it yet. So it is valid law. While it is valid law, I will enforce the assault weapons ban. There's not a question to me on we can change the people's behavior by enforcing the law. And the way we're going to change it is we're going to ask for detention and we're going to ask for jail time every time somebody is found with an assault weapon. That's what the law says, and that's how we're going to follow it.
It's Eileen O'Neill Burke for Cook County State's Attorney. March 19th is the primary. I tell you, we got a lot of issues in Illinois. The one thing we don't have is an ability for you to register and vote. We make it unbelievably easy. Fill up at a Shell, you're registered. Whatever the case may be. You want to buy Costco? You're registered. So get registered and vote, please. It's for your own good. And I don't want to hear any Republicans whining about, this is the Democrats, I'm not involved. This is your city.
Yeah.
This is your county. If you are not interested in picking people who can do the job to the best of their ability in your interest, well, maybe you don't need to live here, because you're not taking enough interest in it. So the Chicago Tribune says we need a reboot. They say you're the right person for it and a very strong endorsement for you. Mr. Harris will be back. He's welcome here to bring up his side of this. But I'm encouraged by what you're telling us because you have the experience, and I'm glad you took time to be with us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
People want to find out more about you. Where do they go?
JusticeForCookCounty.com.
JusticeForCookCounty.com. That was going to be my website.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but it was
It's already taken.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.